So I'm gonna make sure that it is going live. So yeah, give me a minute. It's informing everyone that I am now live. Let me make sure that Instagram is live. And Instagram is live. Give me a minute. It's a little. There we go. Alrighty. We're waiting for everybody to come in. Hello, Sherry and Jules. Hey, Faith Fitz mom. How are you doing? Hey, Auntie, your Auntie Kathy's on there, Mercedes.
Hey, Auntie Kathy.
Hey, is it Talia? Hey, Talia and Foxy Files. Foxy Files Steel, how are you? Hello, Demarius. Oh, is this Mimi? No. Demarius Oliver, how are you? And this is on Instagram. Hi, Misha. How are you doing? Beautiful. Are you going to be in Atlanta with me? Well, hello there, Pop Pop. Hey, just be real. How are you? There go Tasha. Natasha's touch. She said, and this is why she does not put her first name on there because we mess it up because her name is Dimitri and we call her Demetrius. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Miss Sherry. Now I have to jump back and forth, so I may not see the comments on Instagram, so I'll go back and forth. Hello, Bishop Kathy. Oh, Misha's gonna be there. Thank you so much, Misha. Misha will be one of the hostess that's going to be in Atlanta. It's going to be Just Be Real. Just Be Real. Misha's going to be there. Tiara's going to be there. And these are going to be my hosts that are going to be catering to my guests. I am so looking forward to seeing you, Misha. And the food is on me. So you will be my host, and I will be making sure that you and Just Be Real and Tiara are going to be taken care of. You are part of the team, so your food is going to be taken care of. Thank you so much for being here. Just Be Real is my moderator, and I'm looking. Let me look. Let's see. Oh, your Auntie Cassie said, "Hey, princess, whatever."
Don't hate.
Whatever, little princess.
Don't hate. That's right.
You know what? I see. Okay, good. So she sees me on Instagram. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here. I would like to introduce to you, of course, a lot of you met my daughter last week, Mercedes Bryant. Hi, Erica. How are you? Thank you for being here. Hey, Norma. Thank you so much for being here. I haven't seen you in a long time, Miss Norma. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Hello, Fo. Thank you so much for being here. But a lot of you guys met my daughter last week, Mercedes Bryant, and this week my oldest sister is going to be here.
Okay, your oldest.
So my youngest sister is here. Is Miss Letitia Bryant Chanu. We call her Tita. Tita, am I allowed to call you Tita on the broadcast, or do you prefer that I call you Letitia?
That's fine.
Okay, Tita. So this is my sister Tita. thank you so much for being here. Oh Lord, I wish I had my fan. Look at it.
Thank you for
Auntie
having
Kathy
me.
told me that's right.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining me. Hold on just a minute. Let me hold on. Let me get my fan in here real quick. Let me get because it is so hot under these lights. So those of you that are tuning in, today is February the 4th, 2024. So some of you guys are tuning in live, and some of you guys will be coming in on the replay. So some of the people that come in on the replay get mad because I take a lot of time to say greetings. So if you are not here on February the 4th, and it's about 7:52 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course, on your end over there in Texas, you guys are tuning in, and it is about, what time is it over there in Texas?
9:52.
9:52, and so it should be about 10:52 Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys are joining in, excuse me, live, I am on live, and if you are not here on February 4th, and it is just look on there, you're going to see a little fast forward button, and you can fast forward past the salutations. Thank you so much. And thank you, Miss Norma. And thank you so much, Miss Erica, for being here. Just be real. You have full reign. So if you need to block anybody, you are welcome to block anybody that needs to be blocked if they're being disrespectful. Let me call my child real quick and ask her to bring in the fan, because these lights are on. They're not on bright, they're on fire. Give me just a second. Could you pretty please bring me the fan that's in my room and bring it in here? I'm live, so could you just bring it in here because the lights are really bright. So it's in my room, and if you can just, okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And could you I think you have to plug it in. Plug it in. Can you reach it? Like the old folks say, can you reach around? Oh Lord, she gonna cut the lights off. Oh Lord. Turn it down. Turn it down. One more time. Oh yeah, turn it down. Oh, can you turn that one more? Okay, can you point it down a little bit to my feet? Yeah, because that was a lot of wind. Oh, wait a minute. Tighten that right there on the side. Now point it down. Point it down a little bit. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Everything started blowing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And as you see, it's intimate conversations with my family. Hi, Miss Valerie. It is so good to see you. I got some beautiful children. Well, actually, only one of them is my child. So Mercedes Bryant is my child, and then Miss Letitia Bryant Chanu is actually my sister. And so that is actually Mercedes' aunt, that is here on the broadcast with us, and I am bringing her on. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Tonight we're going to have intimate conversations. Oh, the light turned off. Hold on, let me turn it back on. There we go. Is this the light, y'all? Mercedes and Tita.
I think so.
Yeah, it
I
looks
think
good to me.
it was that one. Okay, because they said I look like powder. So I'm trying my best with the lights. So let me hold on a minute. Let me because I am hot. So thank you everyone for being here. Let me check Instagram real quick. Okay, Instagram. We are live on Instagram. Thank you so much, everyone that is joining us live tonight. Tonight, we're having intimate conversations with my daughter and with my sister. And I wanted to talk about how narcissist abuse affects family. And I know last week we had the opportunity to have a intimate conversation, and of course, as a family, this is my family who has had the opportunity to be with me when I was experiencing the abuse, and I wanted to bring this conversation live to allow them to. Talk, kind of interviewish type intimate conversation with you guys. And you are welcome to ask them questions as we're going into these conversations. And I will give them this. Some of you guys will see. I mean, what Tita and Mercedes, you will see some of the questions when they do come up as we're having these conversations. And if you are uncomfortable when we begin to talk, Mercedes, Tita, you're welcome to say, "Well, let's not get into that. Let's go to another question." Or as we're having a conversation. So this is very raw. We did talk about some of this previously before, um, and so you guys ready to get started? I'm ready. So um, welcome, Tita Mercedes. Uh, so first of all, allow me to ask this question. Tita, I know you have had experience as a part of the family, and Mercedes, you're also welcome to ask questions, but you have had experiences with me being your big sister. I've always been the protector in the family because I'm the eldest, and I've always been the protector. And so a lot of things I did not disclose, just like I was telling Mercedes, I did not disclose. And it's almost like dissociate or create an image so that you did not have information into my private world. I know you had the opportunity, you met the person that I was married to, who now we understand um, was a narcissist. Mercedes shared her experiences last week. I know you had an opportunity to view some of the conversations that we were having, and I asked if you would join us this week in the conversations. And in that conversation, at the time, um, as a big sister, you and I was always a part of the protector, protecting my siblings. And then it was during the time that you were pregnant and you came and you moved in. And I tried to do my best to try to cover up a lot of things that I was going through personally. But when you came into my intimate world with the kids, you also begin to experience some of the things that I had tried to hide as much as I possibly could. And you ended up being pulled into my intimate world, and you saw a lot of what was going on that I tried to protect you guys from. And I think you and Mercedes and I were having conversations on some of the topics, and Mercedes, you are welcome to kind of lead in into the topics that we were talking about yesterday that we were going to bring out. If you want to, drop that topic in. What was some of that topic? I'm trying to think what was some of the conversation we were having yesterday, because it was a good conversation that we were having. Um, what were some of the conversations we were having? We were having a conversation where, Tita moved in the house, and what was how we gonna lead into the conversation? We got to lead into the
Well,
conversation. We can start
well,
talking.
let me just say that when I came to stay with you, um, I was, like you said, young. I was pregnant, and I had no idea some of the abuse that you were going through. Let alone have I ever seen a man put his hands on my sister. Growing up, you were always the strong one, which you still are. Um, but you, like you said, you were like kind of like a second, like a second mom, a protector. So I always knew that being around you, I would be safe. So when I came there and I witnessed some of the abuse, it kind of it kind of took me by surprise because for one, when I got there, when it was just us, you were you. You were laughing, you were joking around. But I noticed when he came home or came into the atmosphere, things shifted. It felt very tense. No one could really relax. You couldn't be yourself. And so I started to notice that. Um, and also, the traits that he had, I had, I didn't know that it was traits of being a narcissist. I had no idea. Those are things that you just didn't really talk about. That was like 23 years ago. You really didn't hear that a lot. I didn't know until 23 years later when you started actually teaching people about these traits or what to look for and things like that. I started to notice that in him throughout the years when I was there and when you would call me up and talk to me and tell me certain
I
things
put
that
two
were
and two
going on.
together. Yeah, like put
Yeah,
two and two together, right?
right. So for me, it was a little bit scary, and and it was sad because he literally pushed me out. And at that time, I was like the only family you had there besides the kid, my niece and nephew. So that was very sad to see. I think that he tried to sow a division there, and but of course it didn't work. We're sisters, so even though I left, I mean, it didn't divide us. It
Mhm.
just physically, like I wasn't living there. We were always, close.
And I think
So
Mercedes says something about the fact that she noticed that like when you came, it was like you could tell like I was happy. Me and Tita and the kids, we would go out and do things. Me and you would take pictures. We were laughing and joking. And
right,
Mercedes was now Mercedes because she had been around it. She said that I noticed that you were happy being around your sister. And one of the things that I had talked about in my video before, and one of the things that I always re-emphasize is the fact that when a narcissist realizes that you're happy or your family brings you joy, one of the biggest things is to isolate. But another thing is to number one, separate you from that happiness or go and attack that which makes you happy. Especially like attacking my children because that's what my happiness was. And then to attack you as my sister, just to be ugly towards you to try to
yeah,
separate the two of us. You saw
mm-hmm.
that.
Right, right. That's what I witnessed.
Now, what was it like, watching him deal with your niece and your nephew?
Well, that kind of surprised me too because it was as if he treated them like little soldiers. Like it was really heartbreaking to see the abuse of him treating them like that when it came to a lot of things. If they didn't do the smallest things, then you know he made them these little soldiers, and just I don't know how far you want me to explain, because it happened to Mercedes and them, but for me it just hurt me to see that.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring you guys on the side screen. Hold on. Oh no, now you're way up in the screen. Hold on. Oh no, hopefully they can see. Hopefully this is a good picture. Um, we don't have
And
to
then
get
it's like,
We
I'm
don't have to
sorry.
get in detail with, the type of abuse that you witnessed. I mean, the fact was, that, Mercedes talked about abuse, and then of course you saw the abuse. And of course,
Yeah.
just for the sake, because I don't want people to get triggered while they're on the channel. Some people get triggered by hearing that because they've witnessed it or have been through it too.
Mm,
And of course, this is dealing with Mercedes, personal Mercedes, and of course, personally, with your nephew, my son,
yeah.
so and out with I noticed one thing though, and this is something that all three of us was talking about, is that it's almost like he hated boys or hated men, period. And so it's like the person that got the harshest, of all the abuse was always, my son. And
Mm,
he's not here to defend himself or have a conversation, but it seems like that the abuse is always, targeted toward the male children, the son, you know, and there was
mhm,
nothing, and a lot of things I think with the conversation is a lot of things that you witnessed, and some of the things that Mercedes disclosed like yesterday. I was not, I think you asked me, like, were you aware of it? I wasn't even aware of some of the things that were going on once I was not there. And it was stuff that was witnessed by, I think you witnessed it, and I
You
didn't know it
talking
until
about
later on. Huh?
you talking about with the discipline
Yeah,
and how I realized that that wasn't normal either.
right. And what were you saying? Like the discipline that you guys were getting, you found out later on was some of the
So
strategies
it
used in the military.
so I knew that some of the stuff that he would make us do was military related because he would like have us in like the Roman electric chair. That's where you're sitting like a chair with your arms out or in the front lean and rest position. And it wasn't until I was in the military when, my NCOs and stuff would try to, correct me by smoking me or having me do exercises and stuff. I'm down here doing these exercises and I'm looking at them doing push-ups and stuff or in the front leaning rest position and I'm looking at them. I'm all like, hey Sard, like this ain't gonna work for me. I'm like, this is how I was disciplined as a kid. Like instead of you doing this to me, might as well just let me up and I could help you look for whatever equipment you were looking for. But it wasn't until I was in the military that I realized that that wasn't normal, that that's not how normal people discipline their kids.
Right. Then
right.
there is something else I think we were talking about. I did a video on this where I talked about narcissist rage. And I was talking about something that had happened that was really petty, dealing with military and knowing people. And, in the military, a lot of times when
Mhm,
you know people help each other out. And so and I think you asked me, like, how did this big rage thing happen? What was the conversation behind it? And I said it was a matter of he was trying to get me a slot in school that I needed for school, and I was
mhm,
allowing him to do that. The time was getting short where I had to go ahead and talk to the people that I knew was going to get it. But of course, when you're dealing with a husband and a wife, you don't want to, like, make your husband look bad or anything like that. So I let him do what he had to do, and he couldn't get it done. And so I just had to make a phone call because it's getting too close to the time. I had to make a phone call to make sure that get done. And we came home, and Tita, you were there at that time. And we came home, and the conversation is that did you check you got a slot in school? And I didn't know that he was trying to do it. I didn't know that he thought he had did it. And I said, yeah, I called so and so, and I had him get me a slot. So he got me a slot, and he went on this rampage. And I talked about this in the video.
mhm,
He went on this rampage, and I was in the shower. And the thing was, is that he knew that I was very protective over you, my sister, because you were my younger sister and you were pregnant. And his whole thing was always to inflict fear or make you scared or to humiliate you and embarrass you in front of someone. And he knew that you looked up to me as your protector. He knew that you looked up at me as a person. It was a innocent admiration of an older sister and a
mhm,
younger sister. And he knew this. And so what he did is he pulled me out of the shower, naked in front of you, and held me by my neck in front of you, to try to humiliate me. And I remember the window, remember that big bay window that it was wide
Mm-hmm.
open that everybody could see. And what it was is I was trying to stay, I wasn't trying to react because I didn't want you to react, because I knew if I would have reacted, you would have reacted. And I was looking at you. I was trying to see whether you were afraid, but I was trying to stay quiet. So what he was trying to do was not working. But what happened was is you reacted, and you were reacting because you were trying to get him to stop, and I could see you were getting scared, and I was trying to get you to stay calm. I wasn't saying anything. I was trying to get you to follow my lead, and you were reacting, and you were arguing with him, so he started arguing with you. And so all of us went in the bathroom, and I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
protect you from him because he started going after you. So I'm trying to protect you now because he realized that it was you he had to go after. So I was trying to protect you, but I could see I was trying to get you to calm down and be quiet, stop talking, because now he was coming after you. And after that, I think you made the comment saying that from that point forward, he kept trying to talk to you to justify what you had just witnessed.
Yeah, it was as if he was trying to convince me that what he was doing, you deserved it, or trying to get me to team up with him, to think that this behavior is okay and normal, and it's not. It was a delusion. I felt like he was trying to, what do we call it, gaslighting, to where trying to get me to think that this is okay and it's not really okay. I mean, he was very good at that. But that didn't work because I was still very emotional. I did react because I had never seen that, and I didn't
Right.
like what I was seeing, and it was starting to put fear in me, and I was pregnant, and I knew from that point forward I had to make a decision, and I said I cannot raise my son in this type of environment because he gonna make my son like that,
Mhm.
and I don't want my son to grow up like that. So I had to leave, and I was only there like a few months, half of my pregnancy, but
Mhm.
the plan was to stay with you,
Right.
and still be there now in Seattle. But that's okay.
Things happen, and I think he knew, because I was content with the fact that my sister's moving in. I've got help with the kids.
Mhm.
If we like get stationed in Germany, or we get stationed somewhere, I don't have to, because he used to always threaten, to leave me, because now Mercedes, because you were in the military. To be a single parent in the military is very hard. A lot of people end up ending their career because of the fact that they really don't have the support that they need in order to be a single parent and try to, raise kids and be in the military at the same time. And so he used to always hold that over my head because I was progressing in the military. And, had I had to end my career, I would have to start all over again as a single parent. So that was always the fear that he tried to keep me in. So in my mind, I thought, if my sister came, number one, I have a way out from this trauma I'm experiencing. I thought that he wouldn't do the things he did if my sister was there to witness it. And I thought, I would have some relief, meaning I have someone to talk to, I can go and do things. And of course
Mhm.
that backfired, because really he tried to triangulate and try to abuse the things that I love the most. And that's the sad part about it is, and I tell you guys all the time, a narcissist doesn't care. They go after what it is that you value the most, whether it's family, it's family relationships, family, your children, whatever it is that they can attack, they're going to go after. They're going to go after to try to get you to submit, to try to get control over you. And he always
Yeah.
wanted control over me. And he always knew that he had control enough where he knew that I knew to stop, because I was afraid that if I kept going, that he would go after my kids. He would go after my kids, or he would go after what I cared about, my sister, or anything that's close. And so I used to try to keep it a secret. And I think you were saying that when we had conversations, I would talk about, before you found out about it, I used to always talk about all the things he did for me and what he bought, but you never knew the things that he was doing behind closed doors. And I
No, I
and I
just.
know, and another thing that we were talking about was, when it comes to a narcissist, when you leave a narcissist, when it gets to a point, when you get to a point and you decide to discard that narcissist, And he, they want to control the narrative. Number one, he tried to control the narrative. Of course, he left me, whatever he left, that's all that matters. The
Mhm.
reality behind it was I made my mind up that I was going to leave. And I know the question was like, why didn't I leave? I think you were saying that, you wanted me to leave. What were your thoughts about why won't she leave?
Well, yeah, at that point, when I realized, what he did, and then throughout the years, that was my question. I just would constantly think, why? Why is she still there? And, you know, then you start to open up and tell me some of the stuff, afterwards, with the affairs and the love bombing and all this stuff he would do, but then turn around and do something else. And yeah, I would always question why, until you said that you didn't really know how to get out of it.
Yeah. And I think you and I and Mercedes were talking yesterday, and I said, the era that I grew up in, mom was born in the 40s. All our grandmother, me and Mercedes, I mean, me and Tita's grandmother and Mercedes' great grandmother, she was born in the 20s. And so, for some of you that are on here, you were born in the baby boomer generation or in the what are we, Gen X? Gen X or something like that, the 60s and 70s era, that stigma of being a single parent or having kids out of wedlock, it was still a lot of shame behind that. And so I still live in that era where if you had children and you weren't married, there was a lot of shame associated with it. And so I was embarrassed, I was ashamed. And Mercedes, I think you described it well. You called it, what did you call it? Damaged goods.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
felt like you was damaged goods.
the concept was is that I was damaged good and nobody would want me. And it didn't help any when you met that. And when I met the person, to make me feel that way too, like nobody else is going to accept you and your kids but me. And I can give you the family that you're looking for, because I talked about it all the time. So I thought if I got married like the color purple, I was married now. I thought that I was doing the right thing. And so when I did get in there, and another good point Mercedes made was is that during the 80s and 90s, during that time, did, didn't nobody know anything about no domestic violence. I didn't know anything about shelters, domestic violence advocates. I didn't know any of that kind of stuff. It wasn't until after I retired out of the military, the sergeant major that I used to love like a dad, Sergeant Major C.C. Jenkins Jr. But such a cliche name. But you know what? He was the one who told me later on. He said that had I known that's what you were going through, he says, I would have made sure that you were taken care of. He said, I had did it before, I would have done it again. But when you're in a position to think that, no one is going to believe you, ladies and gentlemen, I talk about this all the time. No one is going to believe you. Nobody understands the type of abuse. And then on top of that, there were a lot of people that he knew. I didn't know them. A lot of the people that he knew, some of them were good people, but a lot of them were very much like him too. So a lot of people that he knew, but he created this image for himself and smeared my name to make it seem like I was crazy. So I didn't know how to get out of the situation, and where was I going to go? I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to get help. And then my mind was, I got into the military to take care of my children. I have to give up my career. I can't take care of my kids. I used to be in a homeless shelter. When I was pregnant, I lived in a homeless shelter. So I didn't want, so I didn't know. And then this part of the conversation that we were having, I said a narcissist always, in their minds, they think you always belong to them. And not only do you always belong to them, but your family is their family. And they always put up this front. They always try to make themselves look better than what they, whatever narrative. And I know Mercedes, we were having a conversation about the fact that you do not like his new wife. And I
I was.
think
It's not that I don't even like her. I don't care for her. That's the thing. I
and
don't.
the thing is, and then the thing about you and I talked about was that you don't even know her, and I don't mean it in a negative way. I was saying, but you don't even know her. And then me and Tina were talking because it was during a Thanksgiving holiday, I think it was, right? Maybe about a year or so ago, that he
Hmm.
just decided that my family is his family. So my family is his family. So he brings his wife to my family. I wasn't there. He brings his wife to my family and makes himself comfortable like he's supposed to be there. And then, that this is my family. And I know, Tina, you said that you didn't like him then, you still don't like him now.
You right about that. I don't. I mean, I don't. I forgave him long time ago, but I don't
That don't
like
mean you
him.
got to reconnect.
Exactly. So it was another family member that's still close to him that invited him at the last minute. I think the night before is when I found out because Thanksgiving was going to be at that family member's house. So I was a little bit shocked when he said, such and such is coming. So I was like, okay. So I get over
Oh, I
there.
don't even think it was the night before. It was that day because you didn't even know until I said something.
It might have, yeah, it might have been
Yeah,
that
it
day.
was that. It was
Yeah, it
that
was
same
such a
day, and you were
last
like,
minute.
"What?"
Yeah, it was such a last minute, thing. So, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna show up. So, of course, I was there, mama, daddy, all of us, and he comes with his wife, and I was just kind of looking. I was just looking around, just quiet, because for one, I was the last person that he had spoke to because he know I don't like him,
He
and
noted it.
right, and two, I'm just in shock of the fact that his wife's sitting over there on the couch. Like I think the only people that really talked to her was mama and daddy. Like we weren't rude, but it was just awkward because no one has met her. And I wanted to turn around and say, have you met my sister? I mean, he's bringing her around all of us, but he hasn't even brought her around you to introduce introduce her to you. So I just thought it was awkward. I thought it was rude. I thought it was disrespectful. By the time he came around and spoke to me, I think he asked how are you doing? I kept it very simple. I told him I have a small business, and it was kind of just cutthroat, short. But what I noticed is when he was talking to everybody, it's like he was talking to the kids. Well, my son and all my niece and nephews, and he would ask them, okay, so what are you doing in your life, or what are you doing? And they would begin to say certain things of what they wanted to do because they're still young. Some are under 20, some are over 20. And it was almost as if he really wasn't paying attention because right afterwards he talked about all his achievements, all his degrees. um he just made himself look like he put himself on this pedestal. And that's all I kept hearing was the things he's doing, like what you got to do and what I'm doing and this and that and what car I got and all that. So I started to hear that, and I'm looking at him like, you really have not changed. And that's why I don't like you.
Danielle, is that you, Danielle? Danielle's on here.
Hey,
Danielle,
Danielle.
hey Danielle, you
She was
next.
in the house too. She was
Yeah,
in the house at one point in time
Danielle was in
too.
the house. As a matter of fact, Danielle, text me your information. You on there next. But no, but like you said, like I was just saying this, and I said a narcissist always makes everything about themselves. And so Danielle said, yes, ma'am. Hey, family, make sure you text me your information because you on here next. But but um, a narcissist always makes everything about themselves, and that's a sad. That's one of the sad things. Now, one of the things Mercedes is really always concerned about me, and I bet you that was her. Um, so they always make everything about themselves. And I think the sad thing was is I was concerned about Mercedes, and Mercedes was concerned about me. Mercedes was concerned. How do you feel about him being here? Honestly, to tell you the truth, you can, and I tell people this all the time. When you heal, when you've gotten beyond that nonsense.
Because
And
at one point in time, though, Mama, you you wasn't too happy about the fact that I was still having a relationship with him.
Now that's true. That's true because it was still raw. You know what I mean? And I remember talking to Tita about that too. Because in the very beginning, it was very raw, and he would do things like that to make sure that it got back to me. And so at that time, I realized it was still sensitive. That wound was still open. You know what I mean? And then, I tell everybody it takes time to heal from this. And when this, and a narcissist is always going to test you to see where you are. For someone to be that bold and just go to someone's house with the side chick that turned into the wife, that go to your family as if this is your family and make
Right.
themselves comfortable with the hopes that you guys will call. But the thing was, and I think this is what we're talking about, is he was hoping for a reaction because he was waiting for me to pick up the phone and call to say how you gonna take, how you gonna take your wife over to my family's house and act like that's your family. That was the reaction he was looking for. And the thing was, is I remember me and Mercedes were talking. I said, to be honest with you, I could care less. Because that's how I knew I'd heal. I could care less. My concern was more, number one, because I know Tina don't like him. And number two, I know that you have a problem. And that at one point in time, I used to have to keep talking to you about his wife. And the thing was, is that I had enough compassion. That's how I knew I had healed. I had enough compassion. Hold on just a minute. Let me get these folks are doing too much. But I had enough compassion. That's how you know when you have healed, when you have compassion for the other person that's ignorant to what's going on. I'm not saying she's ignorant now, but it's ignorant to what's going on. And my concern is that Mercedes, I don't want you to say anything disrespectful to her because she's still grown. I mean, I know you grown, that's still a grown woman. And the thing is that she does not know because remember, you don't know what's being said to her. You don't know what he said. You don't know the narrative that he's given. You already know, and many of you guys know, when you get into a situationship or a relationship with someone, the only information that you have is the information that that person has given you. My ex-wife is crazy. I mean, I was at one time. She type of person that try to fight. I was at one time. You know what I mean? And Daniel said, "Woo, Lord, we thank God for healing." You know that's right. But the thing was is that I had to really focus on your niche thing because you know Mercedes like I know Mercedes, because Mercedes can be a hothead. And especially when you're concerning her own mama, you know what I mean? Concerning her mother, and then the fact that she feels just as slighted as her mother does. How can you do my mother like this and then bring that woman that you did it with and she knows she did it around me and the family? Because what he was trying to do was force her onto the family, trying to force her into the family and force you guys to accept her like as the stepmother. And the struggle that I was having is I need you to make sure you don't put your paws on nobody. You
She
are
wasn't gonna do
grown.
that. I wasn't gonna let her do that because
I'm glad that my sister was around, but I had to make sure I had to look out for my kid because even in the military, they almost got stationed in the same place. And so I had to tell Mercedes, I said, you can't put your hand on her because she's a commissioned officer. And if you as an enlisted put your hands on this commissioned officer, you're going to jail. I don't care what the story is. I don't care if they're in the wrong, but if you put your hands on this woman, you're going to jail. So I had to do more. Danielle to my man.
Danielle having flashbacks from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I know Danielle having flashbacks. She was just as hype as you were. Y'all were just as ghetto together. But the thing was is that by the time it got to that point where they were over the family member's house and everything, my main concern is Mercedes, I got this. I need you to be respectful. Just be respectful to her. She don't realize because you don't know what the narrative is. And all of us have sat around and looked ignorant in front of folks before because you don't know what this girl has been told, what this lady has been told. You don't know what he has said. You don't know the narrative. I can only imagine. Yeah, I'm close with her family. Her family love me. We cool and everything. It's good. They all love me. So you don't know what he said to this woman. And the thing about it is that here she's sitting in the midst of the family and don't have no idea that he making you look stupid in front of these people. So you can only have compassion for this person because one of us, some of us done been that person. You know what I mean? Some of us been a person. The manipulation real. I'm concerned. Danielle. So, that was my biggest thing. And thank God that let me know I wasn't bothered by it. I wasn't bothered by it. And I was joking and laughing because, daddy talking third person. I was surprised he was like, nah. Now you don't know my daughter. You
You
don't know
don't
my
know
big
karma?
baby. You
You
don't
ain't
know
never met
karma.
karma?
You don't know karma. You ain't met karma yet. Now, that's our daddy. You ain't met karma yet. So I mean, and it's I mean, how did it affect you though, Tita? How did you, knowing that this happened, you witnessed this, you're around it, this person comes around, what did it make you think? Like, what did it? I don't even know how to articulate that question. What were you thinking at that moment? Like, did you want to do something? Did you try to keep yourself together so you didn't look crazy? What were your thoughts, especially you and your niece sitting at the table together and both of you guys are distracting each other?
All right. Well, it was Thanksgiving, so I was trying to stay just in a pot. Well, I actually wasn't a good mood, but it was just awkward, and I just felt like it was very disrespectful. And he should have, if anything, he should have popped in
Just
by
came by
himself
himself.
and said hello and left. But it's the fact that she ain't even met you, and your child is around her is backwards to me. So it just, I know next time if that does happen again, I'm just gonna say in a nice way when he tries to talk and he and laugh and stuff like that. I'm just gonna have to let him know, like,
I
I
don't
really
like
don't like
you.
you. Yeah, and I mean, I don't hate you. I don't like you, and I'd rather not talk or be around you. And
Right.
that's just what I'm gonna have to say.
Hold on. Let me look.
Miss
Oh
just a
yeah,
real
Miss Erica said, I Tina, I don't think you remember Erica. We all were in Germany together, but Miss Erica said you were
I
raised in the military. People, you remember Erica?
Yeah, when I had Facebook, I think we were Facebook friends. So, but I can't see any comments or anything. So,
Oh, that's okay. I'm over on Instagram.
oh, okay.
But she said you were raised in the military. People stayed together no matter what. Yep, exactly. Especially in
Okay.
our era, you made that thing work. Um, and Danielle said next time I pray he stay on his side of the country and leave y'all alone. You know what? That's my other baby. But you know what
someone
though?
someone else asked if he treats your youngest child the way that he treated your oldest.
Okay, I ain't gonna answer that question. I'm gonna let you answer that question, Mercedes.
Hold on 1 second, because somebody just walked out in his underwear.
That's what happened when you got children. So Desi,
So I'm gonna have
my
the camera off,
youngest.
but I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna have the
Okay.
camera off, but I'm gonna talk because he in my lap. So in regards to whether or not he treats my younger sibling the same way, no, he does not. Um, but I think there are little things that, I mean, she's kind of picking up, you know, on her own without us saying anything. Um, and I think like she's starting to see some things for herself that, has been said that, she realized isn't true.
And the only reason why I really don't talk about that, and I don't really like to get in depth about that, is because of the fact that um, she still, per court order, still has to go to be with her father, and so we have to be careful, what we say and how we say what we say, because you remember that narcissists are the type that retaliate, and they retaliate the things that you care about the most. And so that's why a lot of times I kind of avoid questions about the youngest one, because, like I said, she's got a relationship with her dad. She still sees her dad, and we want to make sure that we protect her. So that's why we really don't go in details with that. Let me see. Let me look. Can you see some more questions, Mercedes? Let me look. Ms. Valerie said, "You are so right, Dr. Carmen. He wanted your protest reaction. Absolutely, absolutely." And I think Mercedes was the one that he didn't get the reaction. He didn't get the reaction. Sometimes narcissists think that you feel the same way all the time, all the time, all the time, and they find out the hard way that you don't get no reaction because I didn't care anymore. I didn't care anymore. Let me see. Ms. Jessica said, "Hello, Dr. Carmen Bryant. I'm enjoying your talk at the moment with your daughters." Ms. Jessica is just one daughter on there. The other one's my sister. So both of them are not my daughters. The one that's over on the left, Tita, that's my sister, and the one in the green, that's my daughter. Why I got to be their mama? Why one of them can't be my mama? Ms. Valerie said, "Thank you." Ms. Valerie said, "Thank you, ladies, for such a candid and transparent conversation. Thank God you all survived and healed enough to share." Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's why I tell you guys, when you start, hold on, just real. Viewer said, "Why do we miss them after we realize we are being victimized?" It's called trauma bond. When you are trauma bonded, you are traumatically bonded to an individual. That is a chemical response. That is a psychological response to a person that has basically trained you to. It's a what's the thing? It's a positive and negative. Trauma bonding is a positive and negative reinforcement. You get punished if you don't comply, and you get rewarded when you do comply. So when you comply with the demands of a narcissist, they give you those things that you crave the most: attention, love, affection, sex, food, you know. And then when you don't comply, they punish you by taking away affection, attention, time, money, whatever it is, or they may punish your children or anything that you love. And so you're being traumatically bonded to an individual is just like being addicted to a drug. When you are addicted to a drug, you can't tell a person who's addicted to a drug, "Why don't you just stop?" I don't understand why you just won't break the addiction. All you have to do is just stop. Well, drug addicts understand it doesn't work that way. And there's a reason why they're addicted to a drug. It's a coping mechanism. Well, being trauma bonded to a person, that's a psychological reaction. It's a psychological reaction to a person that's traumatizing you. They're the person that's traumatizing you, and that's the person that makes you feel like they can rescue you from the trauma that they're causing. And so the reason why you still care, or the reason why you miss them, is because you're traumatically bonded. You're addicted to a person and you need that fix. So that's one of the reasons. I have no idea where all this is. Let's go on and block you. And let's block you from this channel. Some folks come on here in a hot mess. But is there anything you or Tita would like to talk about, or even ask me questions? You're welcome to ask me questions, because I've been asking you guys all the questions. Is there anything you guys want to talk about, address, or ask questions?
No, but I will say this, that as my big sister, I still look up to you, and I'm glad that this has blossomed into your channel, teaching people and educating people on this. So I'm happy to see that something came out of this, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was saying,
So
and let
which
you know that we actually do be paying attention to what you be saying. If you haven't noticed that, we're surprised and didn't really know a lot of things until we actually started paying attention to what you were saying and posting and writing and things.
Yeah.
no, I remember this right here. This touched my heart. And you guys know I don't do all that crying and stuff. But I have learned as the oldest sister, I have always learned not to be, I mean, it's not a good thing. Don't get me wrong. This is not a good thing. But I learned as the oldest sister not to be emotional or show emotions, because I noticed that when I showed emotions or when I cried, it would scare my siblings, because I'm the oldest. And so you guys always looked at me as being like the protector. So if the protector's crying or showing, because we have been through a lot, even in childhood. But as the oldest sister, one thing that I learned is that you guys would always watch me. So I learned to turn off my emotions, which is not a good thing. Thank you, Pop Pop.
Mhm.
But which is not a good thing to learn to turn off your emotions. Because as I learned, now it helped me in certain instances, don't get me wrong. I learned to turn off my emotions. And then when I was in this situation, I could not show emotions to protect my children. My children were looking at me. And then when I went in the military, being a female in a predominantly male organization, it's not good to be over emotional, show so much emotion. But one of the things that really hurt me by not being able to show emotion is that once I came out of the military and I started my healing process, I couldn't turn off the tears. And so I became a little more sensitive, and I would cry a little more. In joy, I would shed a tear. And I used to think that was weakness, to when I remember when I first met my grandson. And when I first met my grandson, when I first met Azariah, and I saw him in the car, I became overwhelmed. And so it was almost a situation. And this is what happens when you have learned to turn off your emotions. And it was solidified in the situation when I almost said his name. Woo, God, thank you. But when I was in the situation, when I was married, I had to learn to turn off my emotions, because to turn off my emotion was to safeguard me, because he couldn't locate me. The problem that I ran into with shutting off my emotions is that I didn't know how to express emotions later on. So it was hard for me to show joy. It was hard for me to cry. And so I was struggling because I felt like, is this the big, hey, Ernest, I'm actually in the middle toward the end of the podcast. But thank you so much for being here. But that was one of my biggest problems. So the first time that I actually, when I cried when I was getting out of the situation. And I think I cried because of the fact that, number one, my family, what I tried to make a family was breaking up. What I thought was family was breaking up. Number two, I couldn't believe that it was, at the time it was 18 years. 18 years I allowed you to abuse me. 18 years I allowed you to do this. 18 years the whole situationship was not even real. It wasn't a real relationship. You were never married to me. I was married to you, but you were never married to me. And
Mhm.
for 6 months, I cried. And I remember I did this in private. I couldn't do it around people. I remember the first time that I cried in church because I was hurt. And we're going to put this on Auntie Kathy. I'm going to put this on Auntie Kathy. And I remember the first time where Apostle had to say something to me. And she said, baby, he just don't want you. I knew that. But to hear someone say that, when she said that
Mhm.
he just don't want you, at the time we didn't understand what we were working with, and he don't want nobody but himself. But to hear that, and I remember it registered, and I started crying on the pulpit. I was on the pulpit, she was praying for me. I started crying, and I remember the tears came so hard that once I was ashamed and I was embarrassed, and I looked up, and now I appreciate it, because you know Auntie Kathy, Bishop Kathy, it wasn't that she didn't care, but she was basically saying, I need you to man up, in her nice Auntie Kathy way. And I remember I looked up and she was looking at me, but she didn't say very much. It wasn't until years later, and then it made sense. Years later, she said, I'm looking at you, talking about, if you don't get yourself up, what you down there crying for? Why you down there crying? What you crying for? Won't you get up? Why you down there crying? I didn't realize until now. I was like, you know what? Yes, I was hurting and I was crying and everything. But then I dawned on me, like, what am I crying for? For what? What am I crying for? And that was the first time I had a reaction. The next time I remember seeing Azariah for the first time. And I remember thinking to myself, this is my grandson. I have a grandson. And I remember I looked at him and I was holding him. I thought he was going to be heavier than what he was. And I snatched him out of the car, almost threw him up in the air, girl. But I remember looking at him and I remember getting emotional. And I remember I couldn't stop myself from crying. I started crying. And I remember Mercedes
Standing
looking
there looking at you awkward.
looking at me, and it was just one of those awkward moments where she's looking at me like I ain't know what to do because you crying, and I'm looking at her like I ain't know what to do because I ain't understand what was coming out of my face, and why was I crying because I wasn't sad, so I
And
was
I think
confused.
I asked you, I said, Mama, you crying? You told me shut up. Dude, I got
Said,
something in
my
my
eyes
eye or
are
something.
shut up and mind your business. But I was embarrassed because I was like I ain't never cried, and I wasn't hurting. I wasn't hurting. I wasn't being abused. I wasn't being rejected. I wasn't being misused. And so I couldn't understand the tears of joy. And I was embarrassed because I was confused because I never had the opportunity to cry. I never cried. So I never had the opportunity to cry for joy. I never had permission to do that. You see what I mean? And so and to be able to talk even now with my siblings, even with my sister, it's still hard to share the emotions because I'm still the oldest. I'm still the protector. I'm still the one that they talk to if things get really bad. And so for me to cry, I'm like, okay, but that's a weakness. I don't want you to, I don't want you to feel like there's no hope. I always felt like if I cried, there was no hope. And I'm learning now how to cry with people. And I remember going to my conference. I think it was because it was me, it was you, and it was Just Be Real. And I remember, I think it was, yeah, one of the ladies came through the door. And I remember turning around and looking at her, and she saw me and just started crying. And she was like, oh my God, Dr. Bryant. And I'm looking and she's crying, and I started getting emotional. And I went over to hug her, and she crying, and she said, you have no idea you saved my life. And I got teary-eyed, and I was like, oh my God, my eyes then got wet. What am I supposed to do? So I'm still learning emotions. I'm still learning emotions. Hey, Just Be said had us all in there crying.
I wasn't crying. I'm looking at y'all like, this is awkward.
But think about it for a minute. So, growing up as a kid, not being able to cry. My mom even said it. Mom even said it. She said you were that one child that just wouldn't cry. You just would not cry. And so I would not cry because to me I thought crying was a weakness. And then to be in the military, to be taught that to be a soldier, I'm in a male dominated field. You cry, you weak, and so that just kept. Then be with a narcissist that took my crying as a weakness because I cried a couple of times, but he took that as a weakness, and then he would look for that cry, and he would, if I didn't cry, he would just, if I cried, I would stand there like Mercedes used to stand there in anger, and there would be a tear rolling down my face. So if I would cry, I was getting ready to tear some stuff up. I was gonna blow up some houses and blow up some cars, and I was coming through there like one of the transformers. I was stepping on top of cars and everything. So I didn't know how to balance that. You know what I mean? And so I am so grateful because I remember, and I was getting to this point. I would what let me know that I had healed is both of you said the same thing at two different times. I was visiting you in Dallas, and Mercedes was there. All of us were there. And I think me and Mercedes went somewhere. But remember we went to that 4th of July celebration where we were out there and dancing and
Hmm.
stuff? But I
Oh, yeah,
remember
yeah.
I was in the car with Mercedes first because I think I used your car to go get something, to go to church. I don't know where I went, but
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes was in the car first. And she says, and she was staring at me. So I'm looking at her, wondering why she's staring at me. She says, Mama, she says, I have never seen you happy before. She says, this is the first time in my life I didn't see you frowned up. She says, this is my first time in my life. She says, she says, well, when you say you happy, she says, you are not angry. She says, you're happy. You didn't know she had said this. You got in the car with me, and me and you were riding together. And you staring at me. And I'm looking at you, and you're like, Carmen. And you said, Tita, you said, this is the first time I have ever seen you really happy. What you said was, she says, all my life, you have been so mean. And I was like, well, And you said, Carmen, you were so mean. You said, I don't, Mercedes was the one, like, I don't know if you getting old or you just getting soft. But what you said the same thing. I don't know if you getting older, but you said, but this is the first time I've ever seen you happy. This is the first time I've ever really seen you smile. And I was like, to me, you guys didn't realize you were telling me, I see you healing. I see you growing up. I see you healing. I see you. That was the first time I heard someone say, I see you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you
And you
guys
know
have
what?
no idea those words were healing words to me.
Yeah, I realized that when you was on your healing journey, your heart had got softer. It wasn't as hard anymore. That's what I noticed when you started, when you started going to church and you got connected and you was getting your healing. I noticed that you weren't as mean also. Well, I'm not saying that you were mean, but you had a little hardness to you. And I seen a little bit of a softer side. I seen you more happier when you started really getting that journey of healing.
You started having a lot more compassion.
I ain't got no compassion. You
You
No,
know
have
what?
mama.
compassion.
You know what somebody compared me to one time? Do you remember the movie Terminator?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Sarah Connor?
I think so, yeah.
So Sarah Connor was John Connor's mother. John Connor was the one that knew about he was a little boy that was going to grow
Uh-huh.
up into the grown man that was going to fight the robots.
Uh-huh.
But Sarah Connor, remember, they thought Sarah Connor was crazy and they had her in that institution. But her whole
Mhm.
thing was she had to keep John safe because John was the answer to the future. And so her whole thing was she had to make sure to keep John Connor safe as a little boy. So she did
Mhm.
not have a lot of compassion. Her thing was protection. And so when John saw his mother and he went to hug her, she wasn't going to hug him. She was checking him to make sure that he wasn't injured. So he went out to hug her and she's looking at him like, you hurt? Anything wrong with you? Okay, we got to save him. Let's go. He was reaching out to hug her. Somebody compared me to her one time and was like, you are a Sarah Connor. Because
Yep.
all your thing is protection. You get around people, it's all about protecting the soldiers, protecting the children, protecting these people, protecting, but you have no compassion. He's like you a robot. And then I remember Mercedes saying,
Mhm.
it's like you live like an android, you live like a robot, you were on remote control. I was in survival mode.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Mhm.
lady now, girl. I'll be having little tears and stuff. I have little
Uh,
tears now.
Miss Tasha
Yeah,
said you
yeah, I
was
noticed that. You be
Miss
crying now.
Tasha said you was a little thug. She was. She was.
And you
It
said,
took
what tears?
it.
No,
I'll
I
be
said
having
you
my
be
little
crying
thug
now.
tears. Huh?
Yeah, you still a thug, but you be crying now. So
I'll be
You a
having my little
crying
thug
thug.
tears, my little thug tears.
your thug too.
Mm-hmm. You little crying thug.
And I think what still kind of throws me off sometimes because I'm not used to doing it is when Auntie Kathy looks at me and says, "Is you crying?" Camila, is you over there crying? Or Tasha, are you crying? I'm like, oh my God. I said, I can't even cry. I can't even be soft. Because now I have little tears and stuff. Valerie said from thug to treasure.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Danielle said soft girl era. Come on, mama. Hey, how about that's the exact same thing I was thinking. I'm learning to be the soft girl. And it's
Yeah.
hard when you've been, for those of you that have been in fight, flight, or freeze, for those of you that have been living trying to protect yourself, from those of you that have been living in survival mode. I've lived survival mode all my adult life. And so to be a soft girl or to have tears or tears of joy, it is so awkward to me. Even when people come around and they start crying and telling me how much this program has helped them, sometimes I feel a little embarrassed, like trying to cry with them, trying to cry and shed a tear with them. I feel a little embarrassed because I'm not used to doing it. So I'm learning. So you guys work with me. I'm learning how to, cry without y'all staring at me. Like, is she crying? And I'm looking around like, is something going to happen? Do I need to stop? But you know what? I'm gonna answer a few questions and I'm gonna let you guys go because I know it's like almost 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because I know it's getting late. Let's see. Jessica said, I agree with you. I had a nervous breakdown back in November 2022. I had a lot of health complications where I almost passed out, and I can see why God allowed all the things to happen. Sergio said, hang in there, Jessica. That's what I'm talking about. Jessica said, I have more compassion. Let me see. Catherine, yes. Anytime I start crying, talking about what I went through, I apologize for it. You ain't got to apologize for it. Absolutely not. Let's go on and time you out for a minute. You're doing too much. Let's see. Valerie said, you're such a blessing. Ladies, you have all blessed me. Oh, Miss Valerie, you coming to Atlanta to the conference? I hope you do. I hope we get to see you again. Norma says, so nice to see some of your family on here. Thank you. Uh, you doing too much, so let's go and get you off of here and
You
block.
in
Yeah, they
Guam?
doing a little too much, entirely too much. Let's go on and get you off of here.
Danielle in Guam, Mama.
Huh? There we go. Huh?
Danielle in Guam.
Who in Guam?
Danielle.
She's in Guam.
You know her husband in the Air Force.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, let's see. Hold on just a minute. Let me get you. You're doing too much. Okay. I had to clear some folks out of here. That's all right. That's okay. Okay, let's see. You hit the wrong name. That's all right. We'll get them back somehow. Uh, okay. Let me go look. Let me look up here. Do you guys see questions that you want to answer? Oh, Danielle say great. Hey, Danielle. Danielle said, great conversation. Thought it was just my family with experiences like this. I'll have to watch the replay. Please do. And Danielle, I hope to see you in Atlanta. I know you're going to be there. You always there, so I ain't even worry about you.
Someone asked, what steps did you take to get here today, Mama? Any lifestyle changes? And they said that they're exhausted of survival mode.
Hold on. What steps did I
Miss.
take to get here today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and meaning like what steps to the healing process, like to get me to this place?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, one of the biggest things that I tell everybody, number one, I'm a believer. I'm a believer of Jesus Christ, and I understand that all of us come from different backgrounds and different belief systems. But I am a believer, and I have strong faith. And one thing that I knew is that I prayed to get out of this situation for many years. As a matter of fact, this is one of the things that I tell my daughter Mercedes is that I have years and years worth of journals in my drawer. And one day, either I'm gonna publish them, or if I don't publish them, one day she'll be able to go through those journals and see where my mindset was. You can see where I was distraught. I was praying for my children. I was in hatred all the way up until the time to this moment right here. And you can see my transformation because number one, I had to believe in God. There are some things that man can't bring you out of. The only one that can bring you out of certain things is God. And the thing is that, I was in the church. Thank God I was in the church that I'm in, because my pastor, my family that's there at that church, they knew what I was going through and they never judged me. They knew what I was going through. And the church I was in prior to that, when I tried to tell them that I was going through domestic violence, it was dismissed. It was dismissed and no one, so I felt unsafe. When I got to this church, the people that I was around believed me. They didn't judge me. They didn't criticize me. They didn't tell me things like, you need to make it work. You need to stay. The thing is that they believed me. And I had faith. This situation pushed me into a deeper relationship with God. If it wasn't for God, I would not have made it. I probably wouldn't exist, but I wouldn't have made it. That's the first thing. The next thing, I had to learn forgiveness. That's one of the hardest things, but to understand that forgiveness has nothing to do with the offender. It has nothing to do with the offender. I had to learn, and my pastor had to teach me for years. You can't walk around with offense. You can't walk around bitter. You can't walk around angry, because when you walk around bitter and angry and unforgiving, those are the type of people that you meet. And no matter what you say, oh, I'm getting married, or I have a, hold on a minute. Now we're gonna have to get some folks be coming on here saying some of the dumbest things. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, but where was I at? Somebody asked me if I was transgender. Just threw me off. Anyway.
Crazy.
Okay, there we go. So my the feed stopped. So I don't know if the feed stopped on your side and it has to restart again. So it restarted. Okay, there we go. There we go. But what was I saying? Oh, there it goes. I did not mean to put that over there. Hold on a minute. Is this on my screen? Do you see that on my screen? Okay, there we go.
It's gone now.
It's gone. Okay. Okay, this should not be on overlay. There we go. Okay, there we go. But what was I saying? I'm sorry. Oh, Tasha, she got the blocking fingers ready. Okay, Tasha on here. She got the block finger ready. I did. I took it off. Well, what was I saying? Please forgive me.
You were talking about your steps.
Yeah, so I had to learn to forgive. And one thing that I had to learn, and it took me years to learn this, is that forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with the offender. And once I began to register that, it took me a long time, because I used to say prayers like, I forgive by faith. God, you have to help me in that unbelief. You got to help me because I'm hurting. Help me forgive this person. And then I begin to realize that forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with the offender. Forgiveness has everything to do with releasing me. Because as long as I'm offended at that person, one thing that I know is he was living his life. He was living his best facade. He was living the rich man's facade. He was doing his thingamajang. He was razzle-dazzling people. It didn't stop him from doing nothing. And yet I was holding myself hostage because I was in unforgiveness, and I was upset because he was living his life, and I couldn't get beyond where I was at. And yet he living his best life. And then I begin to realize forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with him. To forgive someone does not mean I have to reignite a relationship. Does not mean that I have to be your friend. Now, the only thing is that I got kids. I have a child, not kids, but I have a child by this individual. So I'll be cordial, and I'm not going to be rude or anything like that. But I don't have to have a friendship or relationship with you. I don't have to be you a BFF, And so I had to forgive. So once I realized I started to walk in forgiveness, that's when. No, he alive. He ain't dead. Asked me if mine died. No, he ain't my narcissist. He ain't my narcissist, the narcissist. But no, he ain't dead. He live and well, kicking and screaming and bucking like a donkey and all that good stuff. But that's the biggest thing. I had to forgive. And most people are stuck on, I would never forgive because I don't want to forget. Forgiveness has nothing to do with forgetting. There's no such thing as forgiving and forgetting. Because if you forget, it's called amnesia. And we do not have amnesia. And if I forget the things that I've been through, that means I'll go back and repeat everything that I did. So no, I didn't forget anything. I know everything in detail. That's why I make these videos. But I did forgive. He is forgiven. That don't mean that every day he don't do something to get on my nerves or do something else to offend me, because he will. He's a narcissist. A narcissist is a narcissist. A narcissist. They don't change. That is their nature. A tiger don't change his stripes. A snake is gonna bite. If you get around a cobra and that cobra get up in your face and it's gonna strike you. That's what it's gonna do. So a narcissist is a narcissist. You get up in their face, they're gonna strike you. They're gonna bite you. You see what I mean? So the thing about it is, you got to remember this: is that you got to forgive. And once I forgave, the stuff that he was doing don't bother me. It doesn't bother me. When he called, and you can already tell, like, oh, he's gonna get my nerves, but I'm cordial. I know how to be cordial. I know how not to be nasty when I talk. You see what I mean? That's forgiveness. And then the thing about it is to forgive him for how he did what he did. You see what I mean? So that's the biggest thing, to forget. And I had to forgive the secondary supply that became the primary supply. and pretended to be, well, she didn't pretend to be me. He pretended it was me, and I had to forgive her because I realized I was just as ignorant as she was when I got with him. I was just as ignorant. I didn't know no better. And I went by the narrative that he gave me. And so the thing about it is now I feel bad. Now I feel bad because I understand what this young lady is going through. I understand what she's going through. She got a little monster. She got a little Tasmanian devil. So those are the things that help me process. And I have a good mentor. I have a good mentor. Apostle Helen Sadler, excellent mentor, excellent pastor. And then I have a big sister. That's my little sister. It's my little big sister on here. And then I have a big, because I'm the big sister. So I never had a big sister. So she's my big sister. And so she do things like, I don't know why you down there crying. If you don't get your big head up, what you crying for? That's the kind of stuff I used to do to my sister. What you down there crying for? Put all that crying. Why y'all crying? That one that crying. You whine all the time. That's the stuff that I used to do to my sister. Why you whine? You whine all the time. You crying and whine all the time. So I understand it. So those are the things that helped me to get to where I'm at. And then I understood, because when I was going through what I was going through, the one thing that I pray, I said, God, help me get through this so that I can please use me to help somebody else. And it's helping y'all. Because your experiences is somebody else's experiences. I can talk about it with you. All right, I'm going to take a few more questions, then we're going to go, okay? No, this page ain't for no women that think they don't need no man, because we love the men. We just don't like you. There we go. My goodness. I tell you what, some folks. See what I'm talking about? Okay, now I got to reload the page again. I don't know what's happening. You block somebody, you got to reload the page. And we back. But I'm going to answer a few more. I'm going to answer a few more, and then we're going to go. So don't think this page is for women that hate men. That is absolutely untrue. My sister is married to a man. He a real man. I still love men. I don't have nothing against men. That's why I say you got to walk in forgiveness. Because if you don't walk in forgiveness, you won't hate men. You won't hate all men. And everybody ain't did it to you. And you making every man pay for what one man has done to you. I mean, one day I'm gonna be married again. So obviously, I don't have nothing against men. There's some awesome men out there. Some beautiful. Ernest is a great guy. Ernest is the type of guy, he step in and he everybody's dad. Ernest is a great guy. So we ain't got no problems with men. We ain't got no problems with men. I didn't start healing until I start forgiving and not being a victim. There you go. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just waiting for a few more comments to come in because my page is reloading, and then we're gonna go. Let me go on Instagram real quick. Sometimes the Instagram page is blank. Hold on. Jessica said, when will you hold that mental health coaching training, Dr. Carmen? Sorry for asking to ask. It's not a mental health coaching training. It's a coach training institute. So it's not a mental health coaching training. It's a coach training institute. So whatever type of coach that you want to be, you could be a coach. Some of you guys want to be a business coach. Some of you guys want to be a finance coach. Some of you guys want to be a health coach, a life coach. Some of you want to be a transformational coach. Some of you want to be a parenting coach. Any type of coach you want to be, the institute is for you wanting to be a coach. Later on, I'm going to create the niches for you. Like you want to be transformational coach or a narcissist abuse recovery coach. But that's a big umbrella because you have to figure out what does that person need. So you say narcissist abuse recovery, what does that person need? Because they're getting the education right here. What is it that they need? Do they need housing? Do they need, whatever? Ernest said, all that means a lot. Ernest, you the man. You are right with me. Now, Samarda gave you the thumbs up over here. Samarda gave you the thumbs up over here. So you are well respected and well loved. We love us some Ernest. Hey, we'll go out there and fight for you. Hey, we go out there and fight. We fight like men for you. I don't know why I keep doing this. Why does this keep happening? I did not put this comment up here. I don't know why it's doing that. I hit it and it came up on there. Let's see. Valerie said, I still love men. I just now know how to stay away from the unhealthy ones. There you go. I don't know what Project Pat is. Let's see. What in the world? What kind of creatures we got coming out the woodworks now? Let's see. Okay. Natasha said, yes, I will. Oh, Tasha says she'll fight for you too, Ernest. We'll swing for you. We'll about to swing for you. And Ernest be the one talking about, I got this. I got this. Ernest so cool. I got this. Got this. Let's see. Let's looky. Oh, you got it. Oh, she got it. We blocking him. He blocked. Okay, got it. So I don't know what he asking. How you listen to smoke and get high? What you talking about? That's what I'm talking about right there. Let's see. So let me look. Instagram. I can't get the. Oh, there you go. Working on forgiveness of him and myself. Yep. German strong. It's your culture, Erica. Let's see. I don't know what happened on Instagram. Let's see. Each experience strengthens our discernment. Yep. Anytime revelation and knowledge is being given, the ugly ones will come out of the woodworks. That lets you know we hitting something. Anytime the roaches come out the woodwork, you know. Hey, when the roaches start coming up, you know the light's been turned on. You know what I mean? Come on, y'all know. All right. Well, I tell you what, uh, Miss Miss Fatface, girl, what a name.
Did she freeze?
I think she did. Can you hear me, Mercedes?
I can, but I think
Oh,
she froze because I was like, why she just sitting there?
yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. Yes, she does. She's asking, did it freeze? Did you tell her yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so. Oh, okay, yeah. She gotta add herself back on.
I'm not sure what she's gonna do.
Oh. No, we don't see anything. Well, okay, I don't see you either, Mercedes. Are you still on the Mercedes?
Yeah, I'm texting her.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Well, you guys, it looks like this is gonna be the end of her live. She's having some little technical difficulties right now. Um, we'll see
But
you
we want
guys.
to, yeah, we want to thank you guys for everything and for listening.
All right, good night, you guys.
Night.